Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome along to round 5 of the Nordic F3 Championship on Apex Racing TV, live from Spain and the circuit to Barcelona, Catalonia, as it became known in September 2013. It's one of Europe's busiest tracks, playing host to high-profile rounds of Formula 1, MotoGP, and becoming the seasonal winter home of F1 teams as they test their new cars and drivers. But today, the course will be taking on and providing a challenge for the Dallara F3 Scandinavian drivers. I am Tim Cox. I'm joined as always by Seb Bosch of Williams. Great to have you along. Of course, we've got Lewis and Wright in the production booth. And missing a couple of big names this week, Seb. No Maya and no Torp.
Yeah,
Could this potentially be a double victory for Isaacson, or am I putting the curse of the commentator on him?
I think we should be very careful with the curse of the commentator, especially after our previous rounds of commentary. Yeah, good evening, everybody, and welcome. And we are looking at Isaacson right now. You're very right, Tim. Yeah, main championship rivals not here today, and we don't think that they can join the session now. So it's looking like Isaacson is, the highest man in the championship who has attended the round today. So does he have a chance at a double victory? Tim, I'm not so sure. Gullickson really, really quick in practice, about a tenth slower than Isaacson, although Isaacson was the fastest in practice. I think, if he wants these wins today, it's certainly not going to be easy. You see him there taking so much curb on the entrance to turn number 1. I think he's going to back out of that lap because that would have unsettled the car quite a bit. And we're going to see, and is Isaacson going to start to feel the pressure now, Tim? Is he going to start to feel, like he's under pressure? He's, in theory, the quickest man out on the track at the moment. Is he going to start to make those small mistakes and potentially lose what could be a really key round for his championship hopes?
There are a couple of factors here that may well play part of that. We'll come to that shortly, but let's take a little look at the championship standings. Well, with already 4 victories to his name, Anders Meyer leads the point championship, but only by 2 points to IGL Coatings' Niels Erik Isaacson, who's been Mr. Consistency, finishing on the podium at 7 out of the 8 races across the 4 previous rounds so far. That's given him that strong position. Torp, who's been all or nothing pretty much. That's why he's been starting to get a cut adrift already, of course, with 3 victories to his name. Picking up a double victory all the way back at round 1 at Spa. Then we've got Grebstrad in 4th. Larson is about getting on for 40 points behind Grebstrad in 5th. Gullikson 6th. Gressenbach is in 7th. Then we've got Jokkelsen, Hendon, and Jakob Behrens, who's currently rounding out the top 10, but only 1 point behind Hendon in 9th. Really, really close stuff across the whole of the points standings. And we were talking about the track maybe being a bit treacherous because Barcelona notorious for being a bit more challenging to overtake on as well. But we're just coming up to 10 past 2 local time in the afternoon. 22 degrees Celsius is the air temperature, but 48 degrees Celsius track temperature. It doesn't get much hotter than that, Seb. And how much does that affect the grip levels out there?
It's a huge issue for the drivers. You're going to have so little grip, especially in the slow speed corners. And unfortunately for the drivers, Barcelona has a few, turns 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, that sort of complex of corners are really slow and tricky. And then, of course, where we see Grebstrad at the moment, turn 10. And all of this sector as well is so reliant on tyre grip. You're not going fast enough where the aero of the car sort of takes, or makes the grip of the car. It's all down to the tyres. And, with the track being so hot, the tyres are just going to physically not be able to stick to the road as much as you want them to, and you're just going to go off. So the drivers are going to have to be really careful to know the limits of the grip, because it's hot out there and you're going to have less grip, but as the grip reduces, your tire temperatures increases. You're using more of the tire to maintain the pace around the circuit, so tire temperatures are going to become a real big issue here. And if you start to push the tires too much, you're going to feel that effect throughout the race. So it's really going to be a very time management race, I think. And you're right, to point out the fact that it is pretty difficult to overtake around here. At least, when you think to sort of more like Formula 1 races, it's always been quite hard to overtake here. F3s are clearly a lot easier to overtake in, and I think we'll see some, but I think the drivers who have saved their tyres will be able to come through at the end of the race. So I expect the sort of first half of the main race to be a little bit sort of time management-y, and then sort of the final part is when you're going to see who's been able to save those tyres.
Qualifying well underway at the moment. Behrens currently topping the time machines. Grebstrad on the front row with him as things stand at the moment, with Jesper Braken and Gullikson, Larson and Nielsen, Sorensen, Haig, Peterson and Scarrett rounding out your top 10. And that midfield, really, really close within there, outside that top 10. As we just see Haig right now heading through. He's having a bit of a look. Got a bit of time to make up. Got about 4 attempts. Is the difference between himself and, apologies, a little bit more than that, isn't it? Yes, it's half a second to Sorensen ahead of him. So really, really needs to dig deep here. Of course, qualifying not the be-all and end-all, but you do tend to race where you end up qualifying. And as for Isaacson, currently second in the championship, well, all the way down in 14th. The drivers have 4 qualifying laps, as we see. Well, there you go. Moving straight up to 4th, second row of the grid for Niels-Erik Isaacson of IGL Coatings. I'll be, well, say happy with that one. Maybe not. It's got one more attempt to try and go faster here, Seb. Can he do it as he's just demoted by Larson down another place and down a row on the grid too, down to the 3rd row.
He was super wide in turn 1. That's going to hurt him all the way through turns 2 and 3. And only now, after turn 4, will he be able to sort of break away from that mistake at turn 1. He's going to lose him a chunk of time. Isaacson, I think, feeling the pressure at the moment into turns number 5. And he runs a little bit wide on exit there. You see a little bit as we see Alexander Hackerson there making a mistake. And he's had a spin. And has a little bit of an extra spin there. Rear tyres just too hot to take the torque demand. And he's going to do his best donut impression in the gravel. But Isaacson out there really struggling. And, for a race where he really needs to win if he wants to keep the championship, the drivers do have a drop round. But he really needs to have this sort of double victory just to extend his points lead at the moment. And, if you're starting down in 5th place, it's really not going to help your cause.
Let's see, Joachim started to finally get a time on the board. Her previous 2 laps had been deleted. Only good enough for 17th at the moment. Jensen currently last of everyone, yet to set a time, and he's got one last attempt onto his last lap. He's running relatively solidly as Isaacson just moves ahead into 4th, displacing Jastenbach in the 2nd row. And Jensen had a decent practice session, and see slight mistakes costing him dearly as Scarrett gets himself up into 4th. I tell you what, that sort of 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th way battle, incredibly close, under a 10th. Wow, Jastenbach is saying nearly exactly the same lap time as Isaacson. Incredible stuff. As I was saying, about half a 10th currently separating 4th, 5th and 6th right now. And Isaacson with all the work to do. We were saying about those high track temperatures, Seb, because the drivers only get 12 penalties, or off tracks as it were, incident points. These hot temperatures are going to make it. We saw it at Kota, where a few of the drivers were running wide and such like. We potentially see a few drive-throughs here in race 2. Of course, that slightly longer, half an hour long race.
I think we will. I think it's going to be a real challenge out there today. Just had a quick look at the wind as well, and that's picking up a little bit, so the drivers are going to have to consider that as well. It's a really deceptively tricky circuit out there at the moment. It's hot, it's windy, and you've got 18 super fast F3 drivers out there just for good measure. This is going to be such an interesting race. And then to top it all off, you're right, we've got that long 30 minutes race, but first we have our sprint race of the evening.
We do indeed, and take it to the grid. Behrens is on pole with Grebstrad joining on the front row. Larson and Scarrett make up the first of 2 all IGL coatings rows, with Jessenbacken and Isaacson disappointed maybe by that 6th place in qualifying. Gullikson and Nielsen are on the 4th row, with Jokkelsen and Peterson on the 5th row grid and rounding out your top 10. Then it's Sorensen and Ryan on the 6th row of the grid, with Haig and Asgard on the 7th row. Haraldson, he's got Helgson for company on the 8th row, and the 9th row is Joachimsdotter and Jensen, and that's going to round out your 18 car grid here from Barcelona. Of course, we've got the first race is 15 minutes long. Drivers will then have a bit of a break in between the 2 races before we head out to the 2nd race of the evening. Of course, half an hour long. Drivers will have to take a pit stop as always. It's this penultimate round for in 2 weeks' time when we head to Germany in the Nürburgring for the season finale. That's definitely going to be one to tune into and keep your eyes peeled for, because if we've seen anything, we've learned anything so far this season, it's going to be drama filled right from the green flag through to the checkered. Who is going to claim a victory today? Currently, only Gullikson has taken a victory other than Torp and Meyer. Can Isaacson, after so many podiums, claim his first victory of the season? Well, not long to find out. As here come the lights, and let's get ready to go racing in Spain. They build the revs, and we are away. And Behrens not getting the best of start. Look at Grebstrad absolutely launching it off there on the longest run down to turn 1 that we've got of the season. And Grebstrad might be able to hold on to this one, but Larson on the attack up the inside. But he's going to be locked in a battle with his teammate as we see Behrens just having to move around there, getting a bit caught out. And in the process, Scarrett had to take evasive action. But he's got Jastenbacken and Isaacson tucked up right behind him. And then there's a bit of 2 wide action as we race down to turn 4 through Repsol and into Seat. Onto the brakes is Sorensen trying to make a place up early on against Gullikson, getting his nose in where Gullikson really wouldn't have wanted it right now. And that looks like he's going to get himself up a place. Or is he? No, he just has to back out of it. Thinks twice about it. Maybe these hot track temperatures and cold tyres just playing a little bit of part of that for now. But Seb, looks like we've got away cleanly.
Yep, Pettersson, unfortunately for him, had an incident going into turns number 4. Didn't quite see who was involved in that as we have a look at a replay. So this is Pedersen now. So this is off the exit of turns number 3. And he's going to go down this short little straight, and that's the number 71 car behind him. And I think that was a little bit of netcode there, Tim, but that's Pedersen's day well and truly over, at least for this sprint race. I think that car is fairly damaged, and that was Gordon Haig involved in that incident, what I could see. But apart from that, a good start for everybody. Behrens there just not nailing the start, but he's still in a good position. He's about 1.2 seconds off the lead of the race, and anything can happen here at Barcelona. But Behrens, not the start he would have wanted. Isaacson as well, our championship rival. He's only a few points off the leader, still in 6th place. Couldn't make up any positions on the start. Watch out for him on your timing stands, but as it stands, Grebstrad is absolutely doing exactly what he needs to do.
He is indeed. Currently has a lead of 8 tenths a second. That's grown by 2 tenths since turn 1. Really feeling confident and at 1 with the car, to the point of he's nearly pulled another 10th over Larson in 2nd. Behrens still remains in 3rd. Scarrett, Grems, Jestenbakken, Isaacson, Gullikson, Sorensen, Nielsen and Jokkelsen rounding out your top 10. Sorensen already up an incredible 3 places into 8th. So he can't overtake around Barcelona. Well, he's made good progress on this opening lap. It's down to, well, I find one of the trickier parts of the circuit through the Caxia, and then up to Bong to Sandoval. Just everyone following through in one long train. See Gullikson there right in the middle of a gaggle of IGL coatings cars, that iconic green and white livery that they all carry. Yeah, a little bit tricky for us in the commentary booth at times when there's so many of them all together. But he has got, well, we're on board with Isaacson right now. That is Jestenbakken right ahead of us, and into the slipstream, and out we come alongside, and this is surely going to be the move done into Alf, turn 1, and Isaacson up into 5th. And Seb, I get the feeling we're going to see a lot of a lot of percentage of our overtaking moves done into turn 1.
Yeah, I've got that feeling too. You've got that really nice sort of exit out of turn 16 that leads into this long straight to turn 1, which is quite a decent braking zone for these F3 cars. You know, none of this sort of braking at like the 40-meter boards that Formula 1 cars do. You actually do have, you know, an ability to dive late under brakes. I think Isaacson there was a little bit concerned. Oh, Sorensen's round.
Oh, after that epic start where he made it 3 places. Lasse Sorensen. He's going to lose it all, the rear end all by himself. Maybe pushing a bit too hard, or is he going to catch the grass on the outside? No, he doesn't.
So I think he's gone wide in turns number 3, and that's triggered our software saying he's gone off the track. But that will heat his tyres up and have dirt on his tyres. And I think, Tim, this is where he's going to go for a little bit of a trip through the gravel. Got up on the curb there, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he might have just caught the rear right onto the grass, and that's what sent him rotating round and facing the opposite way. Gets up and running once more, but whereas he gained 3 positions, he's now down 4 into 15th. Not the start that he would have hoped for after what was initially a really good getaway. And there he is. He's already passed Ryan. Oh, is that contact there, Seb?
I think it would have been. I think that was with Jokemstotter. I think from the glance that I had of the livery. So Ryan not having a good start to the race, down 4 positions from where he started. Sorensen now starting his recovery drive past Haxon for 14th place. But yeah, Ryan, I think that was another incident. I think he must have had one on the opening lap as well, because yeah, as I said, he's down 4 positions from where he started. So yeah, a few drivers not necessarily getting the best out of their performance so far. But the beauty of Nordic F3 is we can do it, as we do it all again in about 15 minutes time.
Grebstrad leading the way still. Just maintaining that gap at around 6 to 8 tenths. Larson hot on his heels. Fastest lap of the race so far last time around for Larson. Best driver to slip into the 137s. Only just a 137.99. Still, Still into the 130 seconds, and that's what I'll be holding on to. It's what Grebstrad will be hearing in his ear and seeing on his relative as Larson closes in. The lone Ignium Motorsport driver in this race. He's going to start to feel the pressure. Well, you can see it's ebbing and flowing. Grebstrad definitely stronger at certain parts of the circuit compared to Larson. He's able to extend that gap out just enough to keep Larson at bay, despite him being in the slipstream all the way, well, only just all the way down the start-finish straight, which allows him to gain a couple of attempts, but not enough to get the move done. As that is Gullickson. Is that a move for position? Yes, it is. Over Scarrett up into P5. Great little move into turn 1, utilising that slipstream there. But you get the feeling this isn't quite done and dusted because the 66 of Scarrett having a bit of a look up the inside, forcing Gullickson wide. You can take a bit of an alternative line right around the outside there, carry a little bit more momentum. Gullickson able to do that with effect, holding on round Repsol and into Saya, and that's a position held onto for 9 now.
Certainly is. Gullickson having a really good drive up 2 positions from where he started, so really finding that he can overtake around this circuit, and now he's got his sights set firmly on Isaacson in 4th place, although it's going to be quite a challenge. Isaacson set the fastest lap of the race last time around, a 37.9. He was about 3/10 quicker than your leader, and yeah, sort of almost 5/10 quicker than Larson in 2nd place. So yeah, we're really seeing Isaacson showing that pace that we know he has. Is Harrison dropping it down through the field, and I think he's had some form of issue out on track. He's now down in all the way in 16th, 17th place now. So what has happened to him out and about? This is at turn number 10, and is he going to go for a little bit of a spin? He is indeed, and now he's got to do the awful thing of just waiting for a clear spot of track, and he's going to find that these F3 cars, although are mighty quick, have an absolutely rubbish turning circle. He gets it spun around and off he goes, but he is down in 17th place.
Really hurting him badly.
Gullickson's dropping.
Oh yes, I've just clocked that as well, Sam. He did bounce across the curve through New Holland, the final corner. So this is on the run down into turn 1 with, oh, and there's contact. A big incident. And the 66 of Scarrett just carries on up the road like nothing's happened whatsoever. While Gullickson is left licking his wounds and losing all those places, down to 10th now. And definitely well, he's going to feel much more hard done by out of that situation there, Sam.
He is, and I'm surprised that Scarrett hasn't got, a superb amount of damage to that car. It all looks fairly clean, so he's got away very lightly, although Jokkelson really trying to capitalize on this now, making Scarrett even go defensives into turn number 10. Jokkelson will find it very difficult to go all the way around the outside, but you know what, Tim? I think he's going to give it a go. That's going to turn to the insides for turns 11 and 12, and Jokkelson's going to make it past Scarrett in an absolutely fantastic move there. And Nilsson now will be looking and he'll be thinking, is Scarrett a little bit damaged? Is he struggling with his tyres? And how quickly can I make this move? Because he's in this fight with Jokkelson and Scarrett falling through the field at the moment.
I'm wondering, Seb, where he's got floor damage, the way he was just taking those corners, that bit of a lock up into Praxer. And here comes right in the slipstream. Nilsson passing.
He must have. That's really slow.
Basically stood still.
Yeah, he must have. He's got some floor damage. Not surprising. I mean, the amount of force that car would have gone through with the impact in turns 2, and Gullickson as well, I think will be lucky if he doesn't have a lot of damage. It was a super hard hit, and I think Scarrett now is just going to start dropping through the field, and he'll be lucky if he can even keep it within the top 10, I think.
So just under 11 minutes out of 15 complete here in race 1. Grebstrad extending that gap over Larson at the front, now 1.4 seconds. Michel Larson in 2nd, Behrens in 3rd, Isaacson, the race one that he might have hoped for, currently in 4th, Yestenbrack in 5th, Jokkelson 6th, Nilsson 7th, Scarrett, Haig and Gullickson running out your top 10. Now the grid for race 2, that will be formed from the race results of race 1. However, top 8 are inverted, so 8th place one to keep an eye on as it stands at the moment. Scarrett, despite that bump and a bang, as all something's happened to Nielsen. He's dropped about 3 places there. I think he might have come off track. I was going to say Scarrett will be starting in pole for race 1, but that's all change here. These things move around, and yeah, for Behrens as well. If he can keep where he is right now, this will be his first time on the podium this season. Likewise, Larson as well. He hasn't been on the podium since round 1 when he picked up a 3rd in race 2. So that'll be a well-welcomed return to the podium for him after such a long break. As
Oh, that 71 car's got damage.
It's got a lot of damage, hasn't it, Seb? That rear wing is hanging on by a thread, and to the point of he saw it just move forward in the braking zone. It's wobbling around like a plate of jelly.
It is, and I think he's got some rear suspension damage as well. That car looks... Yeah, look, he's got steering damage. You can just see how far he's having to turn the wheel, you know, and left to make a right-hand corner. Absolutely incredible. So Haig was our reverse pole man, but that's gone to Gullickson. He is dropping through the field. So what has happened to Gordon Haig out on track? Because that is a very sick-looking Dallara F3. Is it going to be a little bit of contact? Let's have a look, Tim, and see what's exactly happened to him.
If he's going to surely have got to hit the wall, maybe, Seb. Oh, no, you were right. There was contact there.
So that's Gullickson. So
yeah.
Gullickson, his second contact of the day. Nothing he could have really done there, I think, but Haig is, at least for now, going to still try and keep that car going, but I think it's all a little bit in vain. He's really struggling, and I've never seen in iRacing. Oh, and he's rounded turn 10! Oh, and there's somebody over on their roof. That's Hackelson. Oh, disaster there. Hackelson's gone to the pits. Haig with that damage, the spin at turn number 10, and that...
Oh, for good measure, around he goes again.
Park it,
And
he has.
Yeah, he has indeed. He can't carry on with his that. But while that's been going on, I'll tell you what. Second, third, and fourth, Larson, Behrens, and Isaacson have been closing in on one another, and more crucially closing up onto the back of Grevstad in these last stages. There's Gullickson up, off and running once again. A fresh car. We have got now only 1 minute remaining. Just look at where the drivers were. We're going to get another lap in. We're not quite onto the final lap yet. Still chance for the podium to shuffle itself around and take a different form as Grevstad is being hunted down by a pack of 3 IGL Coatings cars. And Isaacson hoping to keep that momentum going of podium finishes. It's all the way back at Kota in race 2 was the last time he wasn't on the podium. So 3 rounds ago. Not far away from Behrens at all. Move down into turn 1 for Isaacson against Behrens. Seb, potentially I can feel it brewing.
Yeah, it certainly can. I think Behrens is gone from being on the offensive to certainly thinking about having to defend from his teammate Grevstad in the grass, trying to defend from, I have to say, fresh air there. Isaacson very much in the slipstream. I think we're going to see him pull out. No, we don't. So he's thinking probably about a move probably into turn 10, you'd have to say, Tim. You know, there's a little bit of a chance into turns 4, but you have to be pretty brave, and I don't think Isaacson will be really willing to risk that. While this battle is brewing, quick sort of point I think I want to make, Tim, is that Gullickson pitted, and I think he took a fast repair, so I'm a bit surprised that Gullickson decided to come into the pits and repair the car, because he was in the reverse grid pole, and you know, even if you've got a damaged car, you might as well give it a go and see if you can complete it, because yeah, Gullickson struggling. It might have been the drive-through. He might have picked up too many incidents.
Yes.
I
probably
think
the most likely, Seb, wouldn't it? Because let's not forget he had at least, what, 2, if not 3 contacts, which would have taken him over the 12-point incident limit. As, oh, are we seeing a bit of team orders going on there? As Larson, no, he's run out of fuel. I think he's run out of fuel. Oh, it's all happening.
It's all happening.
It is Isaacson losing the rear end as he was pushing there. And Larson, yeah, that car's chugging, Seb. He's run out of fuel. He's completely and utterly misjudged this one. You can hear him just trying to coast it home here with the clutch fully pulled in.
Well, it's what you can't hear. Yeah, no engine note whatsoever. He's going to lose at least the podium place. So Isaacson, even after a spin, is going to come home for the podium place. And Justin Backen as well gets past Larson. He will just sort of coast across the line if he can just make it. You might have to ask another one of his teammates in the background just to give him a little bit of a push. Larson has crossed the line in 5th place. But what a final sector of the race that was. Isaacson having a spin, maybe distracted by Larson, and Larson out of fuel, and that is absolute heartbreak for Larson.
So coming into those final few corners, I thought where obviously Barron's had the slipstream in front. So take a look at this is Isaacson. I think the last stage is just passing his out of fuel teammate. And
yeah, so he's already out of fuel.
So looking at now, let's look ahead. There we go. There's Isaacson, and just loses it all by himself. And wow, that lovely rotation round to do the full 360 is what kept him out of being collided into by his teammate Larson, and that could have been absolutely race ending for the pair of them.
It could have been, because I think if Larson had lost any form of momentum, he was not going to finish that race. So, yeah, I think lucky for both. I think Isaacson there just a little bit too late under brakes and did the correct thing, not wanting to hit your teammate, so you sort of hit the brakes a little bit harder, induce a spin and live to fight another day. But in the end, it didn't really matter for him. You know, Larson was really struggling to finish the race, so it sort of didn't harm him to go for the move, but I just feel so badly for Larson at the moment. I mean, he had that podium locked down. He was driving so well, and he'd really managed to save his tyres, and everything was looking really good for him, but it's just that slight miscalculation, and that's it. Your race is over.
There we go, and here are your Class 5 race results. From Race 1, Grebstrad, his first victory of the season, coming only our 4th different winner so far. Enjoying top, Meyer and Gullickson. Barron's in 2nd, a welcome return to the podium for him. He hasn't been, apologies, his first podium of the season even. And Isaacson continuing that rich vein of podium finishing form on with a 3rd place. Justin Backen in the end got ahead of Larson to finish 4th. Larson finishing 5th, Jockelson 6th, Garrett 7th, and Asgard in that crucial 8th place and will start on pole for race 2. Of course, the top to 8 are inverted, the grid forming the race results from race 1. Ryan just misses out in the end by 0.6 of a second on 8th place. He'll start from 9th and finishes 9th in this race. Jockelstotter rounding out your top 10. Sorensen, Gullickson, Haraldson, and Nielsen and Jensen taking it to 15th place. The last drivers on the lead lap with Hauks and Haig both 1 lap down, and Peterson finishing in 18th, 4 laps down and retiring the car. Wow, Seb. I think we knew normally it's been said before during qualifying for the first race that this championship is just, you could never predict what's going to happen from the minute the green flag flies right up until the checkered flag, and yet again not failing to deliver. I mean, I don't think any of us quite saw anyone running out of fuel. I mean, we've seen it in the the feature race, but the sprint races, I think that's the first time we've seen anyone run out of fuel, and also anyone hit the incident point limit and have to take a drive through.
Yeah, I think that race had it all. To be honest, I think that last sector of the race had it all. I think that had more action than some of the Formula 1 races we've seen around here. Great action. I think my hypothesis about Larson, and I'm not sure if this is true, but I choose to believe it, is I think Larson was he was concentrating so much with being at the top of the field and wanting every last tenth of pace out of the car that he tried to fuel as little as he could and just pushed it a little bit too far, because fuel is weight and weight is time. So yeah, really interesting dynamic. But Scarra, after that crash, is going to start P2, and Asgard on the pole, and very, very quickly, Ryan, who was down in last place, and I was saying, you know, had an awful start, had that spin, turn 5, was 0.6 of a second off P8 in the first race. So absolutely incredible job by him.
Let's take you through your grid for race 2. Asgard, obviously finishing 8th in race 1, means he is promoted up to pole position, with Scarrett joining him on the front row. Jorgensen and Larsen there on the second row of the grid, with Jestenbakken and Isaacson on the third row. Behrens and Grebstrad, Ryan and Jokostov running at the top 10, with Sorensen, Gulliksen, Haraldson, Nielsen, Jensen, Hauksen, Haig and Peterson completing your grid, as everyone's jumped straight to the grid. No hanging around at all. Waiting on Peterson, but I believe he has disconnected from the session. So here come the lights, and let's get ready to go racing once again here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and we are away. A look at the start that Jokkelsen's got from the second row, trying to make it a free wide on the run down to turn 1. We've got 2 lots of free wide. Hold tight, breathe in, everyone. This could end in disaster as they try and even make it 4 wide. And everyone onto the brakes, and there's contact in the midfield, and there's contact up front as well. Cars sent left, sent right. No, was it one of them, Isaacson, Seb?
Isaacson was involved in that. Grebstrad was involved in that. Jestenbakken as well involved in that. Some of the main hitters in this race involved in an absolute calamitous start here for race number 2. The Nordic F3 series. Grebstrad there battling with Jensen down towards turns number 5. And let's have a look at a replay. And first, how did we not have more contact going into turns number 1?
Well, I mean, Seb, 2 lots of free wide, and they're all nose to tail, and it was always going to end in tears. You could feel it brewing, you know.
Yeah, you certainly could. So that was Isaacson into the side of Grebstrad there. So that was the sort of catalyst there. And let's have a look at Ryan, because I think he's going to be involved in all sorts of chaos. Or is he just going to get through? He's just going to get through. And there's actually secondary contact there in the back. And I think it's going to take us all race just to decipher who and what happened in turn 1 and 2.
We had about 2 or 3 different incidents all happen in the blink of an eye at the same time. Here's Jokkelsen from his so he had a bit of contact, and that's what sent Isaacson skywards. But then further contact, and Jokkelsen sent spinning around after what was an absolutely electric start from him from the second row of the grid. And that has really, really shaken things up here in race 2. It's always brought a bit of drama, always brought a bit of excitement, and different race results, and this is definitely going to be the epitome of that for this season. Definitely one we'll look back come the end of the season as looks in a Behrens swapping places. Scarrett, he is your leader now, a whopping 1.9 seconds clear of Sorensen in second. They're only on lap 2. Asgard third, Behrens, Gulliksen all nearly making contact there. Asgard just trying to keep his nose clean after starting on pole, down to third. But Gulliksen trying to make a bit of progress in the background. He's got Nielsen and Grebstrad really, really tucked up in amongst with him here. Haig, Jensen and Jokostov rounding out your top 10. I'll tell you what, Haig, he's had a brilliant first lap, up 9 places. Likewise, Nielsen as well. He's up 8 places into 6th, and the spin. That's Asgard was one of them. And Behrens was the other, Seb.
Yeah, another major incident. Let's have a look here. So Asgard, the IGL Coatings car, goes down the inside. So that's Asgard on the outside. And that's Behrens trying a very optimistic move. It turns number 9. You don't tend to see any move that goes there come off successfully. And that's another one to add to the tally. And I think if you're Behrens, I think you're going to have to take the blame for that one. But Asgard has managed to recover fairly well in 11th place at the moment. That just goes to show the absolute calamity that is this race so far as Haig goes into the pit. So he's got some form of damage on the car, and that's another driver in the pits as well. That's Nielsen as well, and Jokkelsen all having to take a trip into the pit lane to get their car repaired. And although we do have a pit stop in this race, it is far too early for them to be able to comfortably make it a 27 minutes on fuel. So this is an extra pit stop for them, and this is exclusively to fix damage. And we have a look. So we have a Gullickson versus Sorensen for, this is Gullickson versus Grebstrad for the final place on the podium. And Sorensen, after having a fairly poor opening lap in race number 1, is currently 2nd place in the feature race. What an absolutely incredible turn of events, Tim.
I tell you, it really is all happening here, isn't it? As, well, Scarrett leading the way. Sorensen, the fastest lap of the race last time around for him, in 2nd. Gullickson 3rd, Grebstrad 4th. Joachim Stotter now 5 places into 5th. Hauksen up an incredible 10 now into 6th. Driver's able to make real good progression as the field was already mixed up due to the inverted as Hauksen. Oh no, I just said about him making them 10 places. Because the commentator kicks in. Down to 8th. Oh no, that's Ansgaard again.
Yeah, turn 10's turning into a little bit of a problem spot. We've seen that 3 or 4 cars having a little bit of a spin on the exit. Asgard gets away, has a little bit of sand on the tyres, and that's going to take a few corners to wear off, and that's going to allow Isaacson, the Phoenix rises almost. He's been into the pits, repaired the damage after lap number 1 and that crash that we saw, and he's almost on the brink of a top 10. And are we going to see a drive from Isaacson? Is he going to be able to maintain that almost incredible record of being on the podium in all but one of these races? He's got quite an uphill battle to do it, but it's looking like he's going to get past at least 11th place Asgard before he gets to turn 1.
If there's anyone in this field who can do it, it is Isaacson. Well, he is chasing it down hard, taking the new fastest lap of the race by quite a considerable margin as well. As he tries to chase down the pack and get back to where he believes he deserves to be. Definitely is going to be a long afternoon for him. So we've got 24 minutes of racing left here in race 2. Of course, his pit stops definitely do shake things up a little bit as well. There is Behrens, the driver who's been in the wars, but despite that and everything else happening around him, now only in 8th position and clearly feeling a little bit strong because of it. Through the elusive Lucaxio, where it was claimed already, as Seb said earlier, quite a few drivers just getting that a little bit wrong. However, Behrens has Hauksen not too far behind him. These two, well, we've been lapping at similar-ish times as well, so interesting to see how those two get on. You know, highest place claimer, that is Gullickson, currently in 4th, up 8 places. No, sorry, Sorensen in 2nd, up 9. Incredible stuff as Jestrenbacher making light work there of Joachim Stotter. And that is Jestrenbacher back up to 5th, where he started. Wow, after what's been a crazy start here to race 2. That said, if you a few of these drivers, pit strategy, how do you play this one?
I think it's a fairly simple one, if I'm honest, Tim. I don't think there'll be too much strategy going on. Most of the main players are a pit stop behind. Effectively, they've all had to come in and repair damage. So I think you're just going to go as long as the tank can take it, fill it up, and go again. The pace difference that you're going to have between a full tank and an empty tank is going to be quite big around here, especially with how high the track temp is. So I don't expect too many people to take that gamble and pit early, as we see Joachim Stotter having an absolutely great race. She's up 4 positions from where she started, and she was in that gaggle that was right on the cusp of getting that reverse grid pole. So really able to capitalize on her pace in race number 1 and really use that to great effect here, and also a little bit of luck or good judgment to avoid all of the carnage. As we see somebody who also managed to do that, Gullickson in 4th place after the issues he had in race number 1, now behind the race winner. In fact, Grebstrad now slipstreaming down towards turn 1, is too far away to make a move, but looking, Tim, and that gap between Scarrett and Sorensen is slowly decreasing. I think we've got a fight for the lead on our hands as Hauksen comes into the pits, and I think that's a little bit early to be making your mandatory pit stop. So has Haxon got some form of issue out there?
I do have to wonder. I've sort of almost lost track a little bit. There's been so much drama and collisions and such like as to who hasn't had one. Haxon is one of the drivers, yes, who did have a bit of an incident. So maybe to repair a little bit of damage, gambling, bit of fuel saving to get into the end. Is it possible? Not sure. It's going to be tight, but sometimes it's just worth that gamble. As you said about the gap between Scarrett and Sorensen shrinking, it's now since then extended. Seb now out to 1.3 seconds and at 1/3 race distance. Garrett leads from Sorensen. Grebstrad is third. Right hot on the heels of Sorensen. Likewise, Gullikson not far behind as well, as they all start to squabble over the last two remaining positions on the podium. Joachim Stotter in a fifth, some 6 seconds down the road from Gullikson. Sorry, Jestenbakken is in fifth, and then Joachim Stotter 3 seconds back from Jestenbakken. Behrens is seventh, Ryan eighth, Isaacson and Jensen rounding out your top 10. Sorensen under a bit of pressure now from Grebstrad, clearly using some of that momentum from race one, that great result that he had. He's going to head up the inside, and that is going to be the move done for second. Or is it Seb? But no, Grebstrad just instantly shuts the door to kill off the momentum from Sorensen there and keep hold of second for now. But Sorensen is sucked up right into the slipstream, only a tenth away. Decides against having a bit of a look up the inside there into Repsol. That is surely going to be Grebstrad's to keep now until maybe turn one again, Seb.
Yeah, Sorensen really struggling on the exit of turn 16. I think just plain old struggling for rear grip, and that allowed Grebstrad just to drive past him and almost had the move done before the start-finish line. But then Sorensen managed to come back at him. So Sorensen looks like, as he runs very wide there, kicks up a few cones. I think he's running a little bit less downforce, being quicker in a straight line, but that is going to hurt the tyres in the long run. And his Grebstrad got the sort of the more long-term setup. Is he gone for a little bit more rear downforce to protect those rear tyres, because it certainly looks like it's paying dividends for him at the moment. And we'll see, can Grebstrad catch up to the back of Scarrett, and is he thinking about taking the race win? But Sorensen now has got to be looking in his mirrors and trying to nail this final corner, because he didn't last lap. Looks a little bit more collected this time by, but Gullikson looming large in the mirrors. And if you're Scarrett as well, and just for good measure as well, Scarrett's got a lapped car as we see Gullikson go for a move down into turn number one.
That is, well, Grebstrad still holding on here, incredibly close between the pair of them. They're close right up onto the back of Scarrett. It is now game on for first place. Grebstrad really making hay while the sun is shining here in Spain. Now trying to squeeze his way through. Can't quite make use of one of the back markers there. That was Asgard who they're just clearing. That's turning fortunes he's had after strong race one and a great start to race two. It's all gone wrong here in this, well, after the first few laps of race two. I feel Grebstrad, surely Seb, it's just all about, well, I was going to say maybe lining up for turn one, but he's going to have a go here down into Lucaxia. He's going to be last of the late breakers. Well, it is Grebstrad, and up the inside he goes. In the end, makes light work of Scarrett.
Yeah, I mean, once again, just had so much more rear grip on the exit of turn 9. Almost got the move done, is what we saw Behrens tried to do earlier on in the race, but Grebstrad almost did it successfully. And now Scarrett really looking under pressure. Gullikson now really challenging the back of the IGL Coatings cars, as Scarrett decides that he's had enough of those tyres, or at least he wants to come in and pit. And it'll be really interesting. Does Scarrett feel the need to change his tyres? Are we going to see drivers changing tyres in this race, or once again is it just quicker just to sort of stick on the same set and just hope that they last the full 30 minutes?
We're about to find out. So Scarrett and Asgard into the pits, likewise Isaacson as well. That car looking firmly rooted to the ground, so no tyre change going on there for Scarrett. You'd imagine Isaacson will be playing exactly the same tactic as well. Yes.
I think if I was... Sorry, Tim. I think if I was Isaacson, wouldn't you just stick on a fresh set of tyres and just try something different? I mean, he's sort of out of the points at the moment. Surely you just sort of take the extra pace and just give it a go?
It's a good shout, isn't it, Seb? It is a really good shout. Try something different. You know, you're not going to, bar some miracle. And, well, let's face it, we've seen many a crazy thing happen here so far this season, and you have to. Grebstrad, incredible pace from him as well. A bit of a topsy-turvy season. Had a couple of second places so far. One at Kota, one at Interlagos in rounds 2 and 3. Ironically, both came in race 2 before today, and obviously that victory in race 1. And looking likely here, could make it a double victory. Approaching half race distance. He leads from Gullikson second. Sorensen just in the pits from third. Just from back and forth. Then it's Behrens, Ryan, Scarrett, Jokkelsen, Isaacson, and Haig rounding out your top 10. However, your top 6, excluding Sorensen, who's just heading in, are yet to pit. Jokkelsen are yet to pit as well. And Haraldson too. But let's not forget, a few of those drivers had started incredibly early on, including Larson being one of them. Jokkelsen stopped on lap 3. Not sure if that's enough to get him home, and same with Haig. So potentially some second stops to come in. It's going to be hard to tell exactly how this one's going to pan out right until we pretty much cross the finish line and are able to confirm things. But Garrett is your leader of all the cars that have pitted, currently in 6th place. And just trying to have a bit of a look here, Seb. 25 seconds is the advantage. Well, this is going to be close. I think he's going to come out when Grebstrad pits and comes back out again. I think he's going to come out right alongside Scarrett.
I think he is too. And
sorry,
this is, yeah.
Stotter. What has happened to her? Missing the broken front left suspension. Wheel flapping around like a spaniel's ear there.
Yeah, I noticed her drop. Oh, and that's Asgard. So have they made contact? I think they're both actually on the left-hand side, so it would be quite unusual. But Asgard got the long trek back to the pits, and we saw how disastrous it can be if you've got damage to your car to continue, and you could sort of almost affect somebody. So this is what's going to happen to Jokumsdotter. She's spun at turns number 5, and I think we are going to see a little bit of a incident. So rejoining the track, all looks well so far, has a little bit of a spin, and
T-bone Asgard.
That was more of an interesting crash, Tim. I mean, it looked from that replay intentional. I'm sure it wasn't, but I think Jokumsdotter there, not realizing that Asgard was coming round, and yeah, both drivers involved in. That's one of the more unusual incidents I think we've seen.
That's definitely one way to describe it. And like you said, when we both saw them with damage and both being on the same side of the car, I concurred with yourself. It must have been 2 separate incidents. And then when we saw Jokumsdotter spin, well, she hit the wall a little bit where she's tried to rejoin, and it was the contact upon rejoining that's what's caused damage to both of their cars. So while that was all happening, a few cars have entered the pits. Grebstrad and Ryan still yet to pit in first, in second. Likewise, Haraldson down in 12th, yet to pit either. Garrett leading the way of the pitted cars still. But Grebstrad is starting to open up that gap over Scarrett. There's Yestenbach, currently in 6th place, and tin down Gullikson, number 55, playing the defensive game towards the inside. Just trying to cover off the advances here. So we move in towards the last third of the race. And the nitty-gritty is starting to come in. The drivers will be close to the edge in terms of the incident limit and incurring a drive-through penalty. That's going to cost them dearly here. About 30 seconds No, actually, there'll be about 25 apologies. So, then the transit from one end of the pit lane to the other. Yesterbacken. That's up into the slipstream, Gullickson. Not quite able to close things up here. So a little bit of a twitch into turn one there. Just manages to hold it together. Turn three that just seems to go on and on and on forever. You wind the car up into the braking zone of Repsol. As mentioned, a couple of different lines available to the drivers through there. You can see it being played out right now. There's Gullickson opting for that wider exit compared to Yesterback and remaining much more tighter towards the inside. Trying to get the car lined up for Seat. Down into Worth. Incredibly tight between these two, but surely Grebstrad, let's look at the timer as well, Seb. Just coming to 20 minutes out of the fairly completed. I mean, Grebstrad's surely got to be in this lap. Oh, there you go, as if by magic. He's in.
Yeah, I don't know what we call that. Curse of the commentator or prediction of the commentator. Not quite sure, but spot on there, Tim. Yeah, our race leader coming through the pit lane. Going to be a fairly no-frill stop, I think. And that's Asgard still with damage. So I wonder if he's already used his fast repair. So I don't think that we'll be seeing that car out. Once more, Grebstrad not choosing to take tyres. And now let's see. Where is he going to come out in relation to this battle? That's Ryan, who is still going without making a pit stop. So he is on lap 13 without having to make a stop. And Grebstrad is well and truly down in the distance. He's already through turns 1, 2, and heading into turn 3. And that's Garrett past Ryan. That's crucial for this race. And Sorensen is trying to emulate what his teammate did. Can't really go around the outside of turn 3, but he's going to use all of that extra speed and grip from his tyres and try and sort of dive down the inside. No, he thinks better of it. Decides he doesn't really want to be racing Ryan. Ryan's not really in his race. Ryan's still yet to pit. Oh, and there's a very late send there from Sorensen down the inside of turn 5. Caught Ryan by surprise, caught me by surprise as well. And that is Sorensen back up into 3rd place. But I think the headline here, Tim, is how far Grebstrad is up the road. Almost 5 seconds to Scarrett.
Clearly a driver feeling at one with this circuit. I mean, on course at the moment for the double victory, having been on the podium twice so far this season. Yes, they were both second places, but both coming in the reverse grid races. So, Grebstrad really pushing hard and experiencing great results. Maybe a bit helped by not having Torp and Meyer here, and also Isaacson not having the best of race meetings as Ryan. Oh, I was a bit worried he might have beached it there, Seb, but wow, floors it to just about manages to crawl off and heads into the pits to try and stall that one out. I was getting a bit worried he might have beached it there, Seb. It just would have, you know, just summed up this race nicely.
It would have done. I would have had full sympathy with Ryan if he had beached it. Did it during the Nürburgring 24 one year, and it's really not a pleasant feeling. But no, he skillfully recovered from that. It was almost a bit comical the way he sort of slid into the barrier and sort of bounced off it. Yeah, I think once again, drivers are starting now to struggle with their tyres, not getting the grip that they once had. And you can see that Sorensen really biting the car around turn 4. Well, Repsol into Seat he goes, and again the car just looks that little bit more nervous than it did. His teammate Scarrett trying to take as much of a tightest line as possible and kicking up the dirt. So Scarrett also feeling like he needs to push those tyres as much as he can, but whatever these two IGL coatings cars are doing and however much they want to push, Grebstrad at the moment is just eking this gap away, and they at the moment don't have an answer. They've got around 6.5 minutes even to try and find an answer to Grebstrad's pace, but at the moment he is in a league of his own.
Grebstrad leading from Scarrett. Sorensen last podium place. Incredible 8 places. Likewise is Gullickson in 4th, up 8 as well. Jasterback in 5th, Behrens 6th, Isaacson. All things considered, to recover the car to 7th, that is a great result. Jorgensen 8th, Ryan 9th, Haukson running at top 10 with Haig, Nielsen, Jensen, Haraldson, Larsen to the last of the cars, still running with retirements from Jakobstad, Asgard, and Pearson, who unfortunately didn't make the grid. Heading into the last 6 minutes of racing of race 2. Jakobstad into the pits again. That's the second time. Of course, he did pit incredibly early on after that first lap incident. And that is him heading back out, and I think might even lose another place. There is Ryan coming, storming down start-finish straight. This is going to be a little bit close between these two. Ryan on the outside line, but the overspeed working to his advantage. That clinches that 8th place from Jokkelsen. Wow, or does it? Because Jokkelsen is fighting back hard here. Pulls the car alongside. This is going to be close into Repsol. Ryan has to yield the place that he just taken only at turn 1. Jokkelsen back up into 8th.
Yeah, great recovery from Jokkelsen. Tyres will be a little bit cold. Oh, it's Ryan there, gets turn 5 all wrong. I think catches a little bit of the inside curve and has to sort of arrest the slide and counter steer out of it, and he loses a chunk of time to Jokkelsen. Jokkelsen, though, really good move by him and such faith in the car. You know, you're coming out of the pits, the tyres are going to be cold. They're not going to have anywhere near the grip that you would have expected them to have. Only, you know, such a different amount of grip than you would have had, you know, the last time you went through turns 3. So just to be able to send it up the inside, a lot of bravery there by Jokkelsen, worked for him. The number 8 car is up in 8th place, and I think Sorensen's had some form of issue out there, Tim, because I think he was in 3rd place when I last looked, and he's all the way down in a lowly 5th place. So something's happened to Sorensen, and he's going to have a lot of work on his plate if he wants to take that podium place, which he had only about a lap ago.
Yes, I'm trying to have a bit of a look through our software, and I can't see anything too obvious. Here's a replay. There's Gullickson. Have they made a bit of contact here?
Oh, he's gone wide.
He does. He's just locked up on the entry. That doesn't explain, because he's also lost a place to Justin Rackham, who's behind him in that replay. I mean, that could well be on the run down to turn 1, because it's going to be right into slipstream range. Yes. See if they make it out of through the additional chicane. Let's put it to slow drivers down. So during the 90s, and there we go. Into slipstream range is Jestrum Bakken. Closing, pulls out any second now, waits right to the last second to do so. Then onto the brakes, move down into turn 1. And that is how Sorensen has lost those 2 places within half a lap.
Yeah, really nice to see some, you know, some longer shots of these F3 cars. There's been so much action in this race, and you just see how much effort you really have to put into a move. And you know, Justin Bakken having to really stalk his teammate through the final sector and really focus on not making a mistake, not locking a front wheel and losing all the time. And I think Sorensen as well, a little bit wrong-footed after that mistake into turns 10. Really just on the back foot through that whole final sector. And yeah, the move done. And yeah, you have to say that Gullickson just had the pace over Sorensen, and even without that mistake, I think Gullickson would have been through quite soon after. So Gullickson really looking rapid in this final sort of 3 or 2 minutes of racing. As we see him go a little bit wide there in turn 8, he's going to have to take a little bit of a tighter line into turn 9. That will compromise his exit a little bit. And all of this matters if you are trying to catch up to second place man Scarrett. And I think he's got a tall order if he wants that position. As you see, Gullickson there actually slower on the last few laps. So Scarrett found a little bit of pace. Certainly he's somebody who has found a lot of pace. It's Krebsstrad in the lead, and his gap is almost up to 8 seconds. It's about, it's just ticked over on our timing software. It's about 6.5 seconds, which is still absolutely humongous a gap, and he's going to cross the line. Won't be the white flag this time by, so I think we've got 2 laps of racing here, Tim, but Krebsstrad in the pound seat at the moment.
He leads from Scarrett, and Gullickson in those podium positions. 20 left on the clock, and you're going to get one more lap of racing in after this one. That's the exciting at the moment. Scarra, this will be his first trip onto the podium this season. Gullickson returned to the podium. He hasn't been on there since his win in race 2 at Interlagos. Isaacson, well, he had a chance to make hay while the sun was shining here in Spain. It's all gone wrong a bit for him, down in 7th. Currently 2nd in the championship with his 2 main championship rivals not in attendance. See Scarra. Well, this 2nd place might not be concrete, because I tell you what, Gullickson is not far behind him, and Gullickson last time around set the fastest lap of the race, going 6/10 quicker than Scarra on that lap alone. This is going to be a real fight to the absolute finishing line, and he's got himself right into prime position here in slipstream range. And quite close, it's down to half a second. There's Grebstrad. Oh no, he's not going to have enough time. He's managed to pad out the clock a little bit here with a wiggle and a weave. And if you had him, it'd be a flash of the lights. Grebstrad makes it 2 wins from 2 at the circuit to Barcelona, Catalonia. And Scarra is going to hold on to 2nd, and Gullickson onto the podium. And Grebstrad, maybe not the most conventional of places, begins the donuts. Gesson back and forth, Sorensen 5th, Behrens 6th, and Isaacson down in 7th.
Yeah.
Immaculate donuts there, Seb. I've got to give it to Grebstrad.
He's been practicing, I think, and he couldn't even wait to get to turn 1 before he started showing off his skills, and almost a collision, actually, with one of the cars coming out of the pits, but Grebstrad, just like his racing, knew exactly, wow, very close to the IGL coating car of Alexander Scarra, but once again, luck is certainly on Grebstrad's side today. I might recommend, sir, that you go and pick up a lottery ticket, because, well, not just luck, absolute supreme talent out there to take the double victory. As we see Haraldson, this race is still going, coming down into the final few corners of the racetrack. Is Haraldson under threat from the car behind? That's Nilsson, and Nilsson looks a little bit quicker, but Nilsson actually, I think, is pulling into the pit, so Haraldson will take that 12th place. Nilsson does come into the pits. Whether he's got a drive-through penalty, I'm unsure, or whether Nilsson just knew that he wasn't going to be able to take the position, so just took the more interesting route back to the pits, not quite sure. And this is Gordon Hay coming through in 13th place, and still actually waiting for Jensen to cross the line. Just goes to show the craziness of this race. Jensen still just entering the final sector, Tim.
Well, it must have been basically nearly a whole lap down as Grebstrad came across the line. Just waiting for him to head across now. That will round out your podium here. We'll take you through the classified results very, very shortly, and then we'll be hearing from a few of our drivers. And here are the results. Grebstrad making it 2 wins from 2. Scarra to the podium again once more. Likewise, Gullickson in 2nd and 3rd. Then Yestenbakken, it's a group of 4 IGL coatings drivers with Sorensen, Behrens, and Isaacson taking you down to 7th place. Then it was Jokkerson in 8th, with Ryan and Haukson rounding out your top 10. Haraldson in 11th with Jensen and Nilsson pretty close at the end. Haig 14th, Jochimsdotter, the first 2 cars lap down. Larson joining her, being one lap down, taking down to 16th. Then it's into retirement. Asgard lost on lap 8, and Peterson unfortunately did not make the grid. Well, we'll be hearing from a few of our drivers now, and first up, with 2 victories to his name, now joined by Hakon Grebstrad. Wow, coming to Barcelona, I'm sure you weren't expecting that. I know, I certainly wasn't. Congratulations.
No, yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, no, I did not expect 2 victories for sure. I knew I've done well here before. I have like a little bit of a love-hate relationship with it. Like I do well, but I hate to put like anti-cut curbs around.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, race two. That start, it was crazy to say the least. You got, free wide followed by another free wide on the race down to turn one. You were
Oh
just
yeah.
behind all those guys. Just put us inside the cockpit of your car of what it was like for you trying to scythe your way through all of the carnage and mayhem that was happening in front of you.
Well, I decided on a very high wing setup, so I think a lot of people had a little bit lower wing, so I didn't really get a good run into turn one, and that might have been a good thing, really, because yeah, I got a guy on my inside, and I had like two guys on my outside, so I just pulled out of it. Decided to like try and hold it around the outside, and then I saw a couple of people spinning and stuff, so I decided to take the slowdown and just cut the first chicane to avoid the whole incident thing. And lost a few positions, but managed to get back on clean and keep going.
Do you think that high downforce setup is what, especially with the really high track temperatures we were experiencing here today, do you think that's what's paid dividends for you and really allowed you to, pull away from so many of the drivers around you?
I think so, yeah. Like it was really tough being behind someone because you don't really have the um, opportunity to just draft past someone because they're faster than you even when you're in draft. So it was a question of like outbreaking them into either turn one or turn 10, and it seemed like I had a lot under brakes and was able to do that quite a lot.
Definitely. And before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
I could give a shout out to my team, Ignium Motorsport, and a special hello to Eystein.
Lovely stuff. That is Hakon Grosjean with a double victory here today at Barcelona. Now, Seb, I understand you're standing by with another one of our drivers, Alexander
Ja,
Scarrett.
hadde Silverstone og litt forskjellig.
Good evening, Alex. Welcome to the commentary box. Talk us through your race. I mean, not the greatest first race, but really brought it back for the feature race.
Yeah, but the first race was okay, but yeah, sadly an accident. But my qual was way over my expectations, so I was really happy with the first race, even though I crashed.
Yeah, sorry, kind of a little bit forgot that you crashed. It was such a crazy race, which I'm sure you're sort of aware of. Yeah, talk us through that. So race two obviously started second, finished second. You had a really good start off the line, and then did you sort of see any of the incident going into turn one, or did you sort of manage just to avoid all of it?
Yeah, I was looking in the mirror the whole first lap and just see smoke clouds behind me, so I was really lucky to get in front of all that. And then I was just trying to keep a safe pace and not burn my tires, but it's so hot here, so I was really trying to manage my tires.
Yeah, I mean, we noticed that in the broadcast, and it seemed like almost everybody was having to save their tires so much. And we just heard from the race winner Grebstrad, and he was saying that he went for a higher downforce setup. Did you go the same way, or were you a little bit trimmed down to get the straight line speed?
I was trying a low downforce before the race, but I really burned my tires in the slow section, so I went a little safer, took a little more wing. So, but it was hard keeping Gulliksen behind me.
Yeah, he was absolutely rapid in the final few laps, but you did a great job. And going back to that lap one, do you think that accident actually in somewhat saved you? Because if you'd have been further up the race further up the grid in race one, you would have had to start further back for the feature race because of the reverse grid. Do you think that if you'd have been sort of starting back, you would have been involved in the crazy first lap?
Yeah, you never know, but my pace wasn't all that great today, so I was lucky to get a good gap after lap one. So I just tried to manage that gap as good as I could, but Grebstad is way too fast for me.
Yeah, he's certainly taken a speed pill. He's absolutely rapid, but your pace was also really rapid as well. And yeah, congratulations on I think it's your first podium of the season?
Yeah, it is. So I was really happy today.
Well, congratulations on your podium. And before we let you go and celebrate with your team, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to on the broadcast?
I really like to thank my team. They work so hard on setups, and I really get a lot of that. So thank you to everyone's keeping with company training and making setups.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to come and talk to us in the commentary box, and we wish you luck for the final round in 2 weeks' time at the Nürburgring.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
And Tim, I think you're standing by with another one of our drivers, our third place man.
I am indeed. Without you, have Gullickson. Wow, what a great result for yourself in race 2. A return to the podium. We haven't seen you on the podium since Interlagos a couple of rounds ago in that crazy race 2. And there seems to be something about race 2s, doesn't it? Because that's where all of your podiums have come from.
Yes, that's right. I was trying to change that today and try to get a decent result in the first race, but I had an accident with Alexander Skare in turn 1 in lap 5 or something, and then it was game over. So I had to start from P12 in the last race. So it was hard work.
I mean, it definitely was. You're up an incredible 9 positions in the second race, the highest position climber of absolutely anyone. But we were Seb when Seb was talking to Alexander Scarrett there. Actually, you starting from further down the grid. In looking back at it now, do you think that was actually an advantage to yourself because you were able to see everything that was happening in front of you, where there were lots of free wides and contact and cars flying left and right and centre?
Yeah, of course, it was a big advantage. I don't know how many who was involved in the first corner, but I just tried to go slalom in between them and follow Alexander, and we were lucky to get out alive.
I think it was easier to try and work out who wasn't involved than who was. It was definitely a lot of cars everywhere. Nürburgring in 2 weeks' time. How do you feel about that track? Confident, not so confident? One you enjoy, one you dislike?
I have raced there one time, I think, but I like the track. So if I will have enough time to practice, of course I will try to win.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck for that one. Before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
Yeah, my teammate who was unlucky and finished last, Ernst Olav. And congratulations to Håkon with the first place and Alexander, of course, with P2. And thanks to you guys. I like to go and look at this in replay. It gives a lot of fun. So thanks.
Well, thank you to yourselves for putting on the great action to it definitely makes it entertaining for ourselves to commentate on, and definitely keeps us on the toes. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time in Germany.
Yes, see you.
Well, Seb, I would ask you to try and pick out, your favourite moment of the day, or standout moment. But there's been so many yet again in this championship.
Certainly has, yeah. I don't think I could pick out any moment. I think I'm going to really sort of take the easy way out and just say the whole race as a whole, I had everything. I had really good action. Unfortunately, quite a messy opening lap, and we don't tend to like to see that. We always like the sort of the long developing battles, but this race certainly had it. And Grebstrad, what an incredible 2 races he's had, and yeah, just really happy for him actually that he could really capitalize on maybe the slightly faster drivers who aren't attending, and he's really been able to capitalize on that. So really happy to see a new face at the top of the timing stands.
You say about capitalising on opportunities. Nils-Erik Isaacson, surely this has got to be a missed opportunity for him to really bank some strong points with Torp and Meyer, his 2 championship protagonists, not being here.
It certainly is, and I think as soon as he sort of leaves the track, as it were, I think he'll be reflecting and thinking, what could have been. He was a little bit unlucky making contact with his teammate into turn 1. in the feature race. Having said that, by looking at the replays that we saw, unfortunately, there was so much going on that we couldn't really dive into the replays. I think he had further contact with another driver as well, and I think that looked a little bit unnecessary. So, yeah, I think Isaacson definitely didn't capitalize on today and didn't do what he needed to do of extending those points and trying to retake the championship lead. So he's still got one race to do it. He can come back, stronger in the Nürburgring. It's a difficult track. It's a real driver's place, and we know Isaacson does have the pace to win the races, but whether it's going to be enough, I mean, only time will tell.
Well, if you haven't had enough drama and excitement to your week for racing, tomorrow night, coming up on the channel, it is the ARL Prototype Challenge. And where else are they? Well, it had to be Le Mans, of course, with the big 24-hour race coming up in a week's time. And then we've got the Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 starting off their season at Hockenheim. That's on Saturday night, and following that, it's Formula Renault 3.5, where myself and Austin be in the commentary booth for week 12 from Interlagos. Then Sunday evening, it's the SRF Weekend Warriors, always filled full as drama. I think equaling, maybe even more sometimes than the Nordic F3 Championship. Running out the weekend is the iRacing Israel League Touring Car Series for rounds 11 and 12 from Barber Motorsport Park. Wow, what a dramatic race meeting once again from this championship. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time when the Nordic F3 Championship returns at the Nürburgring.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, You will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.